Based on a musical based on a book of the same name, this follows the origin story of Elphaba and her journey long before she became the infamous Wicked Witch of the West. Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Josh, your Movie Apprentice, and today I am looking at Wicked, directed by Jon M, and as I said, based on the musical stage play that has one of the most, if not the most iconic songs in musical history. This is very much an event film, and I can't wait to talk about it. This stars Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jeff Goldblum, Yeoh. This is a very stacked cast, and before I get into my overall review, if you like seeing on the channel and like movies like myself, be sure to click on the like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time. But without further ado, let's jump into what many are describing to be the best musical since Chicago, even though there's been a lot of other good musicals since Chicago. Tick, tick, boom, looking at you. Now, I went into this and I'm an absolute novice. I enjoy musicals passingly, but I don't actively seek them out. And over the last few years, we've had some very good musicals. But with Wicked, all I knew is it was the origin story of the Wicked Witch of the West and Gravity. Divine Gravity, everyone knows that song. Even if you're not a musical person, you have at least heard a snippet of this song. That's all I knew going into it. And to those that have never seen the musical, go in for Defying Gravity, come out feeling unlimited. This was an astounding piece of cinema. Forget Gladiator 2. This is the event cinema that you need to see. This is a adaptation of a stage play, which is an adaptation of a book that just radiates character, it radiates passion, it radiates just so much that a lot of horror movies lack, and that is heart. I was skeptical going into this because Ariana Grande was the secondary protagonist in this, Galinda, but she very much surprised me. She was great as the character of Galinda. Her full of herself attitude, her small moments where her walls come down, those moments of being effectively a virtue singler that needs everyone to love them. I absolutely loved her performance in this and loved her character, even the times where, quite frankly, I wanted to slap that character because the way they treat Elphaba, the lead in this, played by Cynthia Erivo, the Wicked Witch herself, the dynamic between these two is phenomenal. These two are great dance partners, and seeing their development from people that just do not like each other to an eventual friendship, it is a great arc. And you can tell I wasn't someone aware of the whole plot of the musical going into this because I had no idea Defying Gravity was just the halfway point of this story. That song lived up to the hype. If anything, I am hoping that Wicked is a film that creates the next generation of musical theatre kids. One of my regrets of my uni years was not really getting into musical theatre because I enjoyed acting back in secondary school, and I debated going to performing arts for college, but ended up choosing to go film and television. Bit of a personal story there, but that's one of my regrets, is never really fully embracing my enjoyment of doing performing arts. And this was just an incredible viewing experience, and I hope it guides the next generation to get involved in this, because going into this, I was unaware of all the themes in this. There are definitive themes of, yes, there are obviously racism and prejudice themes in this, but there are also just general themes of manipulation, how the small minority controls the majority, the idea of creating a scapegoat for the people to unite against is something that has been consistent throughout history, and I love that this story really delves into that in such a magical way. This film is a lock for definitely some technical Oscars. I feel like production design especially is going to be very difficult for this one to lose. This is Wicked's to lose when it comes to the production design, because the sets in this are absolutely incredible, and it's just a very vibrant movie. Wicked, you can tell there's a lot of love and passion and care put into this movie. I love the story. I love the slow development over the course of the movie. That core dynamic between our two leads is hands down the best element of this for me. I'm not going to say it's perfect though, because as someone unfamiliar with the musical, some of the subplots that Platt sees for the next film do feel kind of rushed. I thought they're going to be a lot more fleshed out in part 2, because although I go into this is very much part 1, and there's going to be a part 2 next year. I'm very much looking forward to this. This is a film that for me needs to succeed financially, because if you don't like musicals, this could be the one that really sways you, because the absolute euphoric feeling I got during the Defying Gravity sequence was outstanding. I was waiting for that song the whole way through, and when it hit, I was enjoying it. There's this moment where Cynthia Erivo just explodes out the screen almost. Genuinely chills up my spine. It was a thoroughly enjoyable, if not magnificent, experience. The characters, minor or major, all have a great role to play. Michelle Yeoh is by far one of the standouts for me in this as the sort of mentor figure to Elphaba, and I love the dynamic, and she just eats up every minute of screen time she's on. There's also a character that's fully CG that is voiced by Peter Dinklage, and not realize that was Peter Dinklage. But I love that character. I wish there was a bit more of them. But I imagine there's more to come from that character in part 2. Like, this is very much a film that stands on its own as being an origin for how the Wicked Witch became the Wicked Witch. And anything that's going to come after this movie, I am fully excited for it and anticipating it. But you could generally feel this is a film that very much stands on its own. But unlike a lot of part 1, part 2 films that have come and gone over the years, this doesn't feel like it was just a big setup movie to part 2. This very much felt like it told its own story and its own narrative and developed the characters in a great way. I will say the decision that Galinda takes at the end, whilst I knew it was coming, I can't say I truly bought the reasons why. I'm unfamiliar with how the actual musical ends, so I am very curious to see how this plays out, because quite frankly, after watching this, I don't think I can ever watch The Wizard of Oz again, because quite frankly, I'm not going to want to root for any of the protagonists in The Wizard of Oz, purely based on what I saw in this movie. But set design, cinematography, the choreography, which I've neglected to mention so far, is incredible. There's a great sequence in a library that is absolutely phenomenal to look at. And there's a very emotional scene in sort of like an underwater cave that is so well done. It is a little bit cliche, but I love that dignified performance by Cynthia Erivo in this, and the range of depth that Ariana Grande shows in that scene as well. This is just a knockout film. It's an absolute event. I would highly recommend anyone to go watch it. Even if you're not a fan of musicals, give it a chance, because there is so much going on in this movie. It's so vibrant, so colorful. It will have you tearing up, and it will have you laughing as well. The performances are solid across the board. I just can't wait to see what we have next in part 2. Like, this is very much the dark horse of the year when it comes to awards season, but I fully expect some big things coming this film's way. Before I get into my grade, if you like what's on the channel so far, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time. Without further ado, let's get into the grade. Wicked for me is a musical that I only knew Defying Gravity, and that was an origin for The Wizard of Oz. So I went into this practically blind and come out feeling absolutely ecstatic. The performances are great. All the little themes in this are brilliantly executed. All the minor characters stand out in their own unique ways. And the costume design, the choreography, the music, it all comes together in what is a phenomenal piece of cinema. My only flaws are really the decision that Galinda makes doesn't feel warranted, but that's a complaint with the musical in general. And there are bits sprinkled in there that are clearly meant to set up what's happening in part 2, but I wasn't truly invested in them. They felt like they're very much distracted from the core relationship of our main two protagonists. And whenever there was something or a new character introduced to disrupt that chemistry between the two, that for me is where it falters a bit. I guess as a musical complaint in terms of a narrative of a film, it still left it a little bit rocky for me. So while I can't give it a perfect grade, I can happily say that Wicked for me is a great cup of tea. So Wicked, have you seen it? If you have, let me know you thought down in the comments below. Those that have seen the musical, let me know what I've got to look forward to in part 2, without, of course, spoiling what happens. If you do, you're getting blocked from the channel immediately, because I'm excited for this. I'm hoping this, again, encourages the next generation of theatre kids out there. And this is just a phenomenal film. This needs to succeed, because for all the flack musicals get, there is a lot of potential to be found in musicals. And I feel like the world is, just like animation, is starting to truly realize that. But until next time, everybody, I am Josh, I have been Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you all in the next video.